Okay. Did someone come in, or can we start? Start. Cool. Okay. So this week's talk is on self-care. So because we're talking so much about what we put in our bodies, we need to look at what else we put into our bodies, into our minds, into our souls through what we consume other than food. So your diet is not only what you eat, it's what you watch, what you listen to, what you read, the people you hang around. So be mindful of the things you put into your body emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Okay, so here's just a dictionary definition. Self-care. A noun, the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. The practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. Okay, so just a little bit on stress. A bit of stress is productive. A bit of stress helps take us out of that low performance boredom zone into an ideal zone of comfort and optimal performance. So if we didn't have any stress, we probably wouldn't get off the couch. We probably wouldn't do any self-care. Sometimes stress actually motivates us to care for ourselves. So in the optimal performance zone, there's a little bit of a stretch. So we're putting in a bit of effort, stretching ourselves. But if we stretch ourselves to the point of strain, we can get to burnout. So performance is only optimal somewhere in the middle of the stress zone of delusion. So it's very important to find out where you are in this bell curve and try and stay in the green area as much as you can with most aspects of your life. Okay, so this is a little story about stressed Sandy and resilient Rachel that I concocted. I'm going to read a little bit about them. So Sandy, who's looking distressed, and Rachel, who is comforting her, work at the same office in the same department. Sandy is feeling immense pressure with her workload and is having issues with her marriage, mostly due to having a special needs child. She worries about her workload during the day and then worries more about returning home to her family and the challenges she faces there. She feels jolted into action every time she hears an email or a WhatsApp come through, and often feels like she is doing too much at once. She doesn't feel like she has time to exercise or cook healthy meals for her family, and she's fallen prey to depression. Sandy is currently having problems conceiving her second child and is also suffering from irritable bowel syndrome. Although she is not overweight, she's recently started to gain fat around her midriff. Rachel, who is empathetic towards Sandy because she has the same workload as her. She also has a child who has a chronic illness and is in and out of hospital with her condition. She meditates every morning and goes for a run after work in the evenings. She tends to stay in the moment and divides her tasks during the day so that she focuses on one thing at a time. She tends to see the humor in most things and doesn't let small things rile her up too much. She takes a very centered approach with her child, putting her trust in the doctors that take care of her and in a higher power, and does her best to support and nurture where she can. She feels generally good and energetic and isn't suffering from any obvious health or digestive issues. So what makes these two women who are so similar so different? Is it resilience or is it genetics or a combination of both? On a physiological level, what makes them different is their perceived response to the same stresses. Sandy perceives everything as a threat and mounts a fight or flight response to something she can't actually fight or run away with or control. Rachel, on the other hand, does not perceive her stress as particularly threatening, so will mount less of a response to it. Or her resilient nature kicks in soon enough to send a message to the brain that the threat is gone. She also practices a lot more self-care and therefore generally feels better on a day-to-day basis. So you can see how it really is, we are all under the same amount of stress. We all, at some stage of our life, will experience something as a human being. And it's about the way we deal with stress, our resilience, and also our self-care that helps us to get through all life's little knocks. Okay, so just from a stress management point of view, we have delved into this a little bit, but I thought I'd bring it up and highlight it in this session. If you can't control the stressor, change the attitude to the stressor. That serenity prayer that they say at the addiction clinics, I really love. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I often repeat this to myself because I find it so important, because there's something we can't control. We have to let go of it. And if there's something we can do about it, we need to be proactive and do that in order to change our situation. The only other thing we can do is change our attitude towards something. Get adequate nutrients for stress, so like vitamin B complex, magnesium, and omega-3. Vitamin D actually also falls in there as well. When you are under stress, it is quite important to get enough nutrients, and these you can get from your food or from supplements. Practice gratitude. I think that gratitude just puts us in a place where you cannot be stressed, because when you're really in that space of gratitude, you really will be in the moment and a lot more hopeful about what is going on in your life. Practice meditation, breath, or relaxation technique. We are going to get into that a little bit more in the last session. I'll give you some tools to use. But really, a breath technique could really just be focusing on your breath and how you are responding and reacting to situations. Meditation can even be just switching your mind off for a very short period of time. It could even be a second or a millisecond. But when you practice meditation for longer periods, you're able to do that with your mind a lot easier. So it's about going into a space between the thoughts where there isn't stress, and we're not in the future and we're not in the past. Taking time out for yourself, doing the stuff that makes you feel really good. Moving your body. Remember also, because stress is a fight or flight response, and the body is expecting us to run away from an animal, literally. When we exercise, we're actually processing all of that stress, amongst other things. I mean, having more mobility, releasing your neck and your shoulders, and just feeling better on an energetic level, your breath, your cardiovascular system.
What's the lungs? What does he do? Nothing. Yeah.
Someone's unmuted. Are you meant to be unmuted?
Fighting.
Whoever's unmuted, just mute yourself again, unless you're talking to me. All good. Cool. And getting help if needed. I really think there's zero shame in therapy or antidepressants. Everything has a place if and when you need it. Okay. So I think this is really important, and I discuss this with a lot of my clients. Identify in your life what brings you joy, what makes you laugh, what relaxes you, and also what distracts you in a healthy way, because this will prevent you from using inappropriate or damaging behaviors to deal with stress. So what brings you joy? For example, it could be dancing or singing or playing with your dog or spending time with your child or a particular friend. What makes you laugh? It could be looking at funny pictures of cats on the internet. It could be a specific person. It could be a show that you like to watch that makes you laugh. What relaxes you? It could be music. It could be going on a long drive. It could be having a nap in the middle of the day. It could be sitting in the sun and getting a bit of a tan. All these things are personal to you. What distracts you in a healthy way? So distractions can be things like doing a bit of social media or learning something, maybe a new language or an Udemy course of sorts, maybe going to the gym or doing a little routine at home. all of these things will help us to, first of all, process our emotions, also give us stuff in the day that takes us away from that stress and that heaviness of all the stuff we have to do and all the stuff we're worried about. And the inappropriate behaviors might be things like taking it out on someone else, screaming and shouting at someone, or smoking or drinking, or using food inappropriately to deal with emotions and stress. So it's very important that you identify these things and practice them. Like, most people, they know what these things are, but they don't do them. Mostly because they're just too stuck in what they need to do in a day and what they need to do for other people, etc. So it's very important to actually identify and practice as much as you can. Okay, types of self-care. So self-care can represent itself in so many different ways. It's not just what you think. So there's so many different ways that you can take care of yourself. So remember, this is taking care of yourself. You can take care of other people, and that might be something that's really great and something that you want to do. Your spouses, your clients, your children, your brothers and sisters, whoever it is. But this is separate. This is you. What can you do for yourself and your own health? So personal hygiene, keeping clean, doing your nails, smelling nice. These are all self-care practices. Beauty routines, looking after your skin, dressing well, having your hair styled or colored. Nutritional, eating a balanced diet, getting enough nutrients, reducing processed foods, allowing yourself to enjoy your food and savor it. Movement, moving your body in a way that promotes health and that feels good, so not just movement as a punishment. Medical, having your annual bloods and checkups, taking your prescribed medications or supplements, not ignoring symptoms when they arise. Work-related, being in a job that you enjoy, not putting in excess hours where you don't need to, and working with people who respect you are all forms of self-care. Time management, so creating a work-life balance and making sure that you are putting in the hours of work, but at the same time making time for all the other things you need to do, whether they be chores or whether they be your practices that bring you joy. Creative self-care, expressing yourself creatively and finding where your talents lie. I believe everyone has some form of creative talent, whether it's a kind of an artistic talent, or dancing or singing, or might be some kind of a vocation that you didn't realize that you were actually good at and that you're capable of doing. So I think that is very important to look into that. Okay, boundaries. Establishing boundaries in relationships, both at home and work. So this is really important, not so easy to do all the time. But there's ways of setting boundaries in a way that doesn't upset the other person, but actually motivates them to be in your life more, by setting those boundaries and in the right context. Informational self-care, choosing what you watch, what media you absorb, and what you focus on a daily basis. Because it really is a choice. And even with social media, you can really, filter out what you want to see and what you don't want to see, who you want to follow, who you don't want to follow, whether you want to know what's happening in the world with COVID and all sorts of things, or whether you choose not to. And really filtering the right information into your system, because it does affect us on a cellular level. Quality time. So this means with yourself and with loved ones, as well as with the stuff you want to do in your life. So making sure that you have that quality time. Emotional self-care, expressing your emotions, talking about feelings, identify what triggers emotions and how to deal with them. Also a very important part of self-care. Personal, so putting yourself first, spending time alone when you need to, asking for what you need, taking a step back, when you need to and doing what you need to do for yourself. Spiritual, taking time to pray and meditate, spending time with like-minded people, or maybe spending time in nature if that's what spirituality is for you. Financial, budgeting, paying your bills, saving. This is all really important part of self-care as well. And situational, so spending time in nature or taking a bath or going on holiday or dancing or playing. So putting yourself in a situation that represents your self-care. So, worth thinking about all of these. It does sound a little bit overwhelming, but if you are conscious, you could probably practice all of these on a daily or weekly basis. It's just sometimes nice to have it in your mind and something like, wow, I didn't really think of all of these things, and you can identify where you need to put the most effort in for yourself. Okay, so how you start and end your day is really key, because that's what's going to frame the day. If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or you wake up stressing about what you have to do for the day, you're probably going to be in a rut. I always say you should never go to bed angry. There's certain things that you want to feel and you want to be in the morning and in the evening. Some stuff might happen in the middle, but that period is very important, and obviously will also affect our sleep, which is a huge part of self-care as well, and stress management. So to start the day right, these are just my tips. What might work for you might be different. Try starting the day with something positive, for example, meditation, movement, cuddle time with spouse or kids, etc. Anything that you can think that's a positive way to start your day. Try do this before coffee if you can. I have tried this before, but it's not the easiest. Sometimes just because, coffee is a great motivator, and I don't think it's the worst thing to do first thing in the morning. But sometimes it will be interesting to try and motivate yourself without coffee. Try avoid social media first thing in the morning. Try train yourself to wake up without an alarm. Make sure your day is planned in terms of meals and exercise and things that you need to do. And make some positive affirmations in the morning, or try practicing some gratitude. Okay, ending the day right. Try have a relaxing winding down routine. Try keep away from artificial light for at least an hour before going to bed, or switch your computers onto like a night mode where there's less glare, because it affects your melatonin. Consider a dimmer light at night. So you can use those salt lamps or a dimmed light or a red light, so that it's not too bright. Try not to consume violent or disturbing content at night, be it movies or books. Consider taking melatonin if you are battling with sleep, and then valerian and passion flower herbal remedies also help. That supplement Biral has it, and I know Metagenics have a supplement that's valerian, passion flower, and melatonin. If the mind is still racing, try a pre-sleep meditation. There are some of those available that you can try. Okay. So in terms of the tasks this week, so and I will email these to you, identifying 3 things in each category. So what or who brings me joy, what or who makes me laugh, what relaxes me, and what distracts me in a healthy way. And then make some effort to practice self-care in your daily routine. So just having that awareness there. And then I don't know if you guys have heard of Headspace. They've got some really, really nice meditations. They also have a couple of Netflix shows, which are basically just meditations that you can listen to. So this meditation is particularly on stress. And it's I think Headspace is great. So yeah, listen to their meditation and consider subscribing to their site as well. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to stop the share now, and you guys can unmute yourselves. Cool. How's everyone doing?
Good, thanks.
I don't know if there was someone in the waiting room. I just admitted someone, but cool. So does anyone want to share a little bit? We kind of halfway through.